Hello, everybody. You are listening to the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, Amazon #1 bestselling author and medical intuitive healer. Now, today we're going to talk about a subject that I personally am fascinated about, and I hope you will be too, and that is sound healing. Now, we all love music. People all over the world respond to music, but music and sound healing is actually used in natural healing. Now, I want to start by briefly sharing a little story about how I got into sound healing. Years ago, I was working with a priest, and you would think that someone who was a priest would be conservative and not open to natural healing. He was very open to natural healing. And his psychic gift was he was high in clairaudience. So he could be healed by sound. And it was really interesting for me working with him because he was so sensitive. His body would pick up literally earthquakes in South America. So he would be very sensitive to vibration, and part of what I would do to help him was use tuning forks. So as a result of figuring out what would work for him, what would heal him, I read tremendously about sound healing. Now, our guest today is an expert in sound healing, Ted Winslow. You can find out more about him at tedwinslow.com. And Ted is a leader in the field of sound healing with his best-selling CDs, Solfeggio Sound Healing from Earthly Frequencies, Harmonia Solfeggio Sound Healing from Divine Frequencies, Angelic Sound Healing, and Vocal Toning with the Angels. These are all available on iTunes, Amazon, Tower Records, and through worldwide distribution networks. Welcome, Ted Winslow.
Thank you so much for having me on today.
I'm especially excited to talk about solfeggio harmonics because this is my 23rd year teaching yoga. And when I teach yoga, I always play healing music because those frequencies can balance our chakras and balance the mind and spirit, so we get even more benefit from our yoga practice. So, Ted Winslow, what is sound healing?
Sound healing is basically a way that I like to think of it as an entrainment to new frequencies that we bring into our bodies. So, okay, what does that mean? Our standard tuning that we have today is at a frequency of 440 hertz. And a hertz is going to be a measurement of energy that we use. And we're electrical beings, we vibrate at that. So this 440 hertz, it means that like concert pitch, concert tunings, pianos, strings, guitars, they're all going to be tuned to that certain pitch so that they can all play together. And studying music as far back as I did, there were a lot, that's what introduced me to a lot of these other harmonic tunings. And harmonic meaning that if you hit a note, so we'll go back to 440, you hit the note A, you've got octaves and harmonics and overtones that will come off of that. But I find it's a more harmonious and rich tone in the other tunings. So it baffles me thinking that some of the greatest minds that we have, and much less the greatest ears in history of music, is said we're going to use 440 and use this as a tuning. And so that's kind of where I broke away. So to answer the question with sound healing, it's a frequency that we can use to entrain our body, that we can start our natural processes, bring in our key soul signatures so that we can start manifesting, healing ourselves, and creating other aspects in it. It brings us to a point, again, with our soul signature, of quieting some of the chatter that we hear in our minds. So let me go explain this one. And then I'll tie this up here. So when we get up in the morning, we're probably hearing the sound of our alarm going, wah, wah, wah. So we're right away, it's creating stress and anxiety in our life. We go downstairs. Some people probably turn on the news or they turn on the quickest thing. And now they're being told, here's the bad things that happened last night while you were sleeping. 15 minutes later, here's some commercials that advertisers, which are pre-programmed, again with that 440 hertz, to try to sell you that you need to have this prescription, and it makes you have a fear like, oh my God, do I have those symptoms? Do I need that prescription? What? Call my doctor? You need this insurance coverage. I don't know if I have that coverage. I have to call. Now we've got fear and anxiety right from the get-go that we start off with. So that's not good. And it's all because our body's becoming in tune with this frequency that we started with 440. Then now we're knowing that, and I call it the fight or flight frequency. We know, like horses, if something comes at them, a horse will run. Whereas I'm here in Colorado, a mountain lion might attack you instead. So it's going to fight you or flight. And it's like, where do we get back in touch with our key soul signatures? And that's where sound healing comes in, so it is able to clear the clutter, clear the mind chatter, because our bodies are like chess, and we just keep stuff in it. You're a yoga practitioner, and you understand the benefit of doing the yoga, so you're releasing and getting those releases so that you can get to savasana. And that's where sound healing comes into effect for it. That's my theory on where I'm taking sound healing and the solfeggio frequencies.
Now, for our audience, I want to put sound healing within the context of vibrational healing. So, big picture, your vibration. You listening are a VIP. You're a vibrational interference pattern. Now, you as a VIP, a vibrational interference pattern, you can go into resonance with things around you. As Ted said, you can go into resonance with fight or flight and the bad news and the sound of the alarm clock and the stressful noises around you, or you can go into resonance with high vibration music. Now, one simple thing to understand is that all illness, all dis-ease is simply slowed down vibration. And healing happens literally when you lift your vibration. And we're going to hear from Ted in a moment. We're going to talk about the specific frequencies of the chakras. Now, can you share with us, Ted, what is solfeggio sound healing? I understand that solfeggio harmonics were used in the Gregorian chants, so this is not new information. It's been used for thousands of years.
Correct. It's actually been, the earthly frequencies have been traced back to the hymn John the Baptist. It's been the Bible. It's been in the Torah. And so these are frequencies that were used back in the day, as you mentioned, through Gregorian chant. And it was what ut, re, mi were the first three. And mi is mi is actually short for miracles. So that is the frequency of 528. And they talk about DNA. You can research this on the web. There's a lot of information that's out there with 528 and how it's helping repair DNA. So that's kind of where it comes from. And then ut, re, mi, and then you can think there's do, re, mi, so, fa, la, ti, do, which it kind of comes from those. There were 6 frequencies that it started with. I think since then, what I've been experimenting with here in my studio, I've developed a technology called SoundSync Tech. And so through that, with the frequencies, the various frequencies that I record my albums in, I'm also incorporating theta as well as alpha in the same hertz frequency as those songs. So I'll use this one, for example, 528. And with that, now hertz, again, it's a measurement of electricity. So our body is electrical. Multiple frequencies are a part of it. Vibration is frequency of the mind. And we have neurons that billions of them are firing off all the time. And it's trying to work with the stimulation of both the right and the left hemisphere of the brain, the way that I work with the music, so that you can then entrain it to these harmonic frequencies. So, and talking about the chakra balancing, that's where I started seeing it, that there's seven frequencies, and they're 7 chakras. Ironically enough, there's 7 colors of the rainbow if we look at that. So I even look at it that it's like color therapy in a way. We know that color therapy is good because we're sitting there looking at red, yellow, blue, violet, orange, green, and indigo. And here we're dealing with 7 notes of a scale. And now people are going to go, no, wait, there's 12. That's chromatic. So we're just talking of the solfeggio frequencies. Now, they expand off from there because that's where harmonia comes into the divine frequencies. And then you can think of planetary frequencies. And then you can think of angelic frequencies, which I'm sitting there realizing that's got a key signature and a home value of its own. And so that's where with SoundSync Tech in my albums, it's constantly taken off. I've got so many frequencies out there. I've got like over 200 recordings that are out there for distribution. I honestly can't keep track of them because as soon as I release it and record it, brand new ones are coming in and a whole new thing is coming back out. The reason that I believe that that's happening is because it's kind of like we don't want to eat the same food all the time. Or I make the analogy that it's like a smoothie analogy, that if you drink carrot juice, you know that the carrot juice is going to be good for you. But if you have pineapple, turmeric, apples, cardamom, all sorts of stuff, your body's going to be picking up more of the nutritional values that's going to go with that, with the music. Okay, now to tie all that up together, sorry for being long-winded, because one of the questions I get is, okay, what frequency do I want for this ailment or for this healing, or this is what's happening in my life with this family trauma and drama. And that way it's like, wow, you can open up like a repertoire and go through the menu. Your body thirsts for these frequencies. It's going to know, like we said, those first 6 solfeggio frequencies have kind of been pushed aside for many years and have not been in what we would call like popular recordings or standard recordings. And now you're seeing that they're coming in. I started bringing them for years, and now that's where I'm kind of going, is like there's so many of them that are coming in. So I hope I didn't get long-winded on that question, that I answered it.
Oh, it's fascinating. So again, for our audience, we're talking about, again, specific dis-ease and illness has specific frequencies associated with it. So years ago, I studied with a gentleman who had created sound healing CDs for specific diseases. So for example, if you had thyroid disease, you would listen to specific frequencies that would balance out your thyroid, for example. But in my healing practice, in my work as a medical intuitive healer, I have a set of tuning forks, and there are some individuals who really respond especially powerfully to sound healing. And what I would do is we would find the issue that they want to clear, we find the emotion, and then when their soul tells me they need sound healing, I would go to my set of tuning forks. I would identify which frequencies they need to hear, which notes, over what areas of their body. It could be a chakra, it could be an organ, it could be around the ears, it could be around the sphenoid bone. So the sphenoid is the bone your brain rests on. And when you use sound healing around your sphenoid, your entire brain, which is the most important organ in your body, resonates to that frequency. Now, I would like to go over the specific chakras, because you mentioned 528 hertz, which is the frequency that heals the heart. Would you, for our audience, Ted, go over, beginning with first chakra, what's the frequency that balances our first chakra? So just like we know the color red balances the first chakra.
I apologize. I don't have the notes here in front of me on those, because the reason, I know that we discussed this, but I didn't bring the notes in with me on the earthly frequencies with the chakras, because we're finding that even though that album, it was my first album that started at it and opened up the door for everything that was dealing with the chakras, we're finding that they're starting to respond to all sorts of frequencies, much less we're finding that they're responding to the intentions that you put with that. So I have an example. We do a testing here with our clients or people that come in to show them scientifically how sound healing is actually opening up their chakras and aligning their chakras. And so that's why I can't give a specific, because I'm finding that each person is going to be a little bit different with it. So I had a woman that came back from Las Vegas. And I use this example because you think of Las Vegas, there's no clocks, you have blinking lights everywhere, you have 440 music. I couldn't think of anything that could probably do more damage to our energy field, our human energy field, and our chakras than going there. So she goes there, and I happen to be able to test her as soon as she comes off of the plane. And I played one of my albums for her. And, well, first we test them before we play any music for them. And so then we've got a baseline. And her chakras were closed off. They were kind of scattered around. Her throat chakra, oddly enough, was way off to one side, as well as her heart chakra was way off to one side. She starts listening to one of my albums, and in fact, it was Angelic Sound Healing, which is one of the albums I want to give away to the listeners. I'll explain how they can get one so they can feel and hear and understand what it is that we're talking about and achieve the same results. So she listens to the album, and instantly I see that her energy level, we're not talking about a cup of coffee energy level, we're talking our human energy field is becoming more relaxed. We're starting to get more back into our soul signature. We're starting to feel more of where we are in our energy. And that's showing up. Her chakras start to widen, open up on it. And I've got a video of this on my website at tedwinslow.com. So we test her with there. Still, there's more work to do. And with my music, I wanted to keep it so I could do at least 1 to 3 songs. We tested 3 songs on her. And then we had her go to sleep, listen to the album going to sleep, test her to the next morning, had her listen to 3 more songs, and have a whole, could see where it's gone from small to healing to bringing on all those natural frequencies that she lost being out there in Vegas. And I'm not slamming Las Vegas. I get people love going there and everything, but it does take a certain part of an energy from us.
Right. Now, you mentioned that you're very generously going to give our audience a free copy of your fabulous CD, Angelic Sound Healing.
Yes.
How can our audience access that CD?
Okay. Go to my website at tedwinslow.com, and in there you're going to click on the store. Once you go in the store, you'll find the album Angelic Sound Healing with Binaural Beats. You'll click on that, go to checkout, and then you're going to be prompted after the checkout that you can put in a coupon code. And in the coupon code, type in radio, and it's going to zero out the balance. Make sure you zero out the balance. And this is a digital download as well. So it's not going to be a CD coming in the mail. It's going to be a digital download. You'll finish it up. It's going to ask you a couple questions because we want to make sure that it's not a robot going on the computer and that it's in fact a person making the purchase for this album. And then you can download it. So now 2 things. Don't go to iTunes and go to Amazon. There's no coupon code, and that's a whole separate distribution agreement I have with my music with those centers. So go to tedwinslow.com to do that. Don't put in credit card information. If it's not a zero balance and you're asked that, go back a step and then finish the process on that radio, and then you can download them. I recommend downloading 1 or 2 of these digital or 3 of these digital downloads at a time. My website gets hit pretty hard, and so our servers sometimes can get a little slow and backed up if it's like everybody's doing a whole album at once. If you miss a song, you can go back and repeat the process and be good to go. Ironically enough, it's one of my Amazon bestsellers. I just ask that if you like it, I'm an independent record label. I don't want to be a part of the system with what the record company is doing and how they're treating the music industry and the musicians. So I've been fortunate enough to be able to do this here. So people find me through good reviews. If you do have an Amazon or an iTunes, it'd be greatly appreciated. And I hope the listeners enjoy the album. From there, they'll see there's many more albums and many more things that are coming, that's constantly coming in. And we call it like the frequency revolution.
That's so exciting because, again, you know, when we're talking about vibrational healing, we're talking about the same kind of healing, homeopathy and flower essences and color therapy and energy healing like Reiki. And the cruel thing about sound healing is you can integrate sound healing by listening to Ted's wonderful music and other solfeggio harmonics whenever you are practicing healing, whether you're practicing energy healing like Reiki or Tai Chi or Qigong or practicing yoga. Now, you're very generously giving our audience this wonderful CD, Angelic Sound Healing. Can you tell us about some of the frequencies of the angels and what do they mean?
Yeah, I've got, okay, I'll use 777 is going to be Ariel. And she's angel of nature and animals. So, and I like telling this because it was important for me. When I was going through and recording it, I had taken a spiritual journey where I live here in Colorado, and I went up into the Rocky Mountains and would basically throw up a tarp and pump my own water and pack in for a couple of days and be able to get messages and downloads. And it was there that I never I never realized how the trees can really actually talk to you. That it makes sense when you call someone a tree hugger. And I was laughing because here I am out there by myself hugging a tree and just putting my energy with it and pulling the energy from that. And that was like, okay, Ariel came in. We've got 111, which is Metatron. That's the frequency of Metatron. I've got Raphael on there. I'm sorry, St. Michael is 111. We've got Metatron that's on there. We know Metatron can change the Akashic records. I had, at one point I was working on the track for Joe Field, and there's a process that of finishing up with the musical composition, with mixing it and then mastering it. So it's just right for going out through distribution with the frequencies and all of that. And I'm going along by the book as an engineer from what I've done for years and changing some of the frequencies, and my computer shuts down. And I'm like, man, that's not good. I think I lost everything. So it comes back up, and luckily I'm going through my notes and I'm changing everything there on the computer, and I'm getting ready, and it's just about done, and I'm going to go ahead and start to burn the copy off, and the computer crashes again. I'm like, that's not good. And I feel this enormous presence right behind me, and just this great big wave of leave it as it is. And I was like, I got you. And so that's where that one came in. And so it's got all the frequencies from 111 to, I didn't use 666. I changed that to 669. It's in the same key signature. There's a lot of controversy that goes with it. And so it's pretty much the same, but I just didn't want to deal with an extra 6 in there for whatever reason. So
now, how can we benefit from listening to the Angelic Sound Healing CD? And again, what's so cool about sound healing is all you got to do is listen. Well,
a lot of people like their angels. It's the easiest way that they can be able to connect and communicate with their angels. I know I was using it for that. And that's where I would get the messages. I'd be woken up to be able to I need to change this and put this instrumentation inside of this frequency to go along with this angel, for it's what the message was that was coming through, of which they wanted. There is, we have she's a stout religious individual, does daily prayers, and she'd never been introduced to sound healing or anything like that. And so she was like, now uses it every day with her prayer when she sits down and goes through the rosary. just amazing that you can, we go to our angels to ask for, maybe it's forgiveness on something, maybe it's for direction for another thing, maybe it's looking for help or problem solving on it. And everybody's got their own individual angel that works better. If it's Raphael or Saint Michael or Metatron, now it's an easier way to connect through with them.
Yeah, it's my experience that we all have angels, and whether you call them angels or spiritual guides, they're literally in your energy field. And the way I like to think of your spiritual guides is they're your team. And they've been with you your whole life. They love you unconditionally. Even if you've never listened to them or talked to them, they're with you 24/7. There's not a single second of your life that they're not here with you. So as you form a deeper connection with them, you can learn how to communicate with them. So Ted Winslow, what messages do you feel our angels have for us?
I think a big one right now is that we need to be more in tune with the earth, her frequencies, and humanity. I think that there's a divide that is happening amongst, not just I'm here in the States, but there's a big divide that's happening worldwide on it. And that's the way that I view my music, is that it's world music. I have somehow gotten lumped into the category of new age. That's fine, but these are like not new age frequencies. It's worldly frequencies. So I mentioned a little bit earlier talking about theta. And theta is the frequency typically associated with the Schumann resonance, which is 7.8 hertz. And that's the frequency that we are in with Mother Earth. So it's connecting back with Earth. It's connecting back with the human spirit. It's getting back to recreating the magic. Our brains are immensely powerful. I mentioned earlier, there's like billions of neurons firing off in it. You think if you have the greatest, biggest supercomputer that you have, and if it has a chip that's in it, and somehow part of that chip that's inside of there, something loses its gap, meaning that the message is broken on it and not firing, the whole thing shuts down. Yet our brain is so powerful, we can overcome that. If there's a portion of it, we could still be able to function for the most part. And I think the point that I'm driving home on is that we've got to tap back into the creative aspect of manifestation, of dreaming big, thinking of where we can take our personal lives to a whole new level.
Yeah, no, and going back to some of the practical aspects of sound healing, this is very interesting because everything is a frequency. For example, medication or vitamins or supplements, you can either give someone the vitamin, like your vitamin B, or you can give someone the frequency of vitamin B. Either one will work. Or you can give someone the medication, or you can give someone the frequency of the medication. So when we're talking about sound healing, yes, you're going to feel relaxed. Yes, you're going to be feeling more in tune with your soul, but very profound actual healings can happen on a physical level with this stuff. Now, Ted Winslow, what are some of the colors and frequencies that are associated with healing and the angels?
Oh, you've got purples, there's golds, blues. Raphael is going to be with green, indigos, I think blues. So there's a lot. And it's I find that each time I talk to somebody and ask them, okay, what color are you seeing with this angel? They kind of sometimes vary on it and depending on it. And I guess that's kind of like with when we go outside, or there's certain colors that we're going to favor to ourselves. One person's going to like blue, or another one's going to like the indigo. And I'm imagining that's how that angel or spirit is presenting themselves for the warm feeling of being with that color. So, I mean, I can go on and say, okay, I believe it's going to be this color, but I'm finding that it's what I'm seeing it as is going to be different for one or two other people.
Now, you mentioned about theta, and theta is a brainwave. And for our audience, you've got, if you're listening, you're hopefully awake. And when you're awake, you're producing beta brainwaves. Now, when you're anxious, you're in high beta. And we've all sort of felt that. You know, when you're anxious and experience anxiety, it's sort of a high, jazzed up, congested, unpleasant, rattling sort of frequency. Now, just below beta is alpha. So when you start to relax, you're in alpha. And there's lots of research. Relaxation is healing, the relaxation response. So it's slow down, and below alpha is theta. And below theta is the frequency of delta, which is what you go into when you're asleep. So Ted Winslow, what is the research about how sound healing affects our brainwaves? How quickly do our brainwaves start to resonate with the music and the sound healing that we listen to?
Okay, that's going to actually get into an aspect of entrainment. So it's going to depend on the individual and how much experience, which shouldn't really say experience, but how often that they're able to listen to it and be able to get into it. So we know that delta is 4 hertz and below, which is going to be your deep dreamless. Theta, 4 to 7, that's the border between conscious and subconscious, where we're accessing our subconscious mind, and that we can do repairs and be able to begin from there. Alpha, which is 8 to 13, is going to be our normal conscious. So now the consciousness is driving us. We want to be conscious of it because we don't want to go into autopilot. Oh, geez, did I leave the stove on? The subconscious is automatically going, don't worry about it. You don't have to ignore it. You're too busy. Go on to it. But yet, did you leave the stove on? Did I consciously make sure that I turned it off or locked that door before I go away? So when I started on the journey with my music, I was trying to find something that could entrain our brain, happen really quick on it. Our bodies are 75% water, and water carries vibration. So now we know that it can get hit with that energy. We'll call it frequency. And it's instantly affecting us to be able to get to where I want to get in. As I made the explanation earlier, there's that disease that's happening with the 440. And there's a history with it, with 440 on why it's kind of bad for you. A lot of people, I think the musicians go to it, and I'm rambling here, but I'm going to tie it all in one point. So just everybody bear with me. So the 440 was brought up as extreme importance. And it's because it's putting us into that subconscious thing that we're just walking along and being programmed. And when I had realized this many years ago, I wanted to pull that away and be conscious of what I was doing. So back to the question is how long does it take? How can we get the entrainment to happen to us? By sitting down and listening to it. And I recommend everybody listen to it with headphones, and I'll go into that in a little bit. You can start to and do the entrainment process right there. Your body's going to start drinking up these frequencies. The ego can't resist them, and you're going to start to absorb into it and feel. It's negating the negative energies. So my music, my songs, when I started out, was around 6 minutes. And we're finding that because of the entrainment process, it's already becoming used to it, as we've been with years of doing the 440, which has been like a catalyst that now we know, okay, we got to go along with this 440 and go along with the 440. Now we're changing it at the end of the day. I recommend at the end of the day, because it's when you can tune out everything and be able to just go ahead, okay, get my natural key signature, soul signature back inside of me. And so now you can do it in one song. We're getting feedback that after listening to one song that people are going right into the theta process right there. They're being able to reprogram their brain. They're be able to change that they need, that they're looking for changing, whether it be on a daily, long-term basis. And so the reason that I got to that is because when I was going through this journey, looking, how can I get my energy back about me? And back in the day, people are like, oh, Ted, you must sit down and you must do a 90-minute meditation. And I'm like, wow, first of all, I wish I had 90 minutes. And that would be great. And it's like I needed something quicker to be able to push and train my body and be like, oh, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be at. So that's why the songs are roughly around 6 minutes. We've got the various albums because now people are putting them on the background. We've got computer programmers. Can you imagine sitting in front of a computer all day long with those electromagnetic frequencies bombarding you of the digitalization of everything? And so they're putting it in the background, and it's helping them to open up ideas with new programming. I mean, I get we need this technology because as an engineer with where I am, I use it every day. And I'm not deriving from everything, but when we talk the 6 solfeggio frequencies that was buried in traditional, now there's more that's opening up with us because back then we were limited with what our ears could hear as far as frequency is concerned. And I come from the analog world to adapting to the digital world now as we're recording this to the listeners. And through that process, there's a lot of fine attunements that I can make now where I'm discovering a lot more frequencies and how it can bring harmonious and how it'll change the effect for this person with this one to the effect with the person on this one. We have scientific proof on my website where people can see this. There's videos that we do it because I knew one thing to hear it. And I had the good fortune of getting partnered up with, he's a professor and leading technology with the human energy field. And when he realized what I was doing, it was a great way that we can show people, hey, here's an alternative. Doctors are already coming saying, we were distributing out opioids for so long. People are getting accustomed to it, saying, okay, I need to change my personality. Where's my opioid? And what can you use, which is other effects that's happening to us. Here's a way for natural frequencies that's on that. Sorry, cut that all out.
Yeah, and I think this is so crucial because in the US, the leading cause of death for Americans under 50 is actually drug overdose from the opioid epidemic. This is what my 8th book is about, the difference between pain and suffering. So we really need, our society needs drug-free alternatives. And one of the scientific research shows that to get out of pain, you have to go into alpha. So simply put, relaxation helps you get out of pain. And if all you have to do is to listen to Ted Winslow's beautiful music and you can download Angelic Sound Healing CD for free, no doctor, no prescription, no drugs, no side effects, no addictive behaviors because of drugs. Now, Ted, what is the 440 frequency? Who introduced it? And why are we using it today?
There's a long history that kind of, I guess I really shouldn't say a long history, but the one that really kind of sticks out in my mind is it was introduced at a physics convention. I think it was the Stuttgart conference. But one of the most things is that there was, in the early 1940s, or 1938, I believe, Joseph Goebbels was the Third Reich minister of Nazi Germany, was there with British and European leaders and said that they've got to use this frequency and it's of the utmost importance. And so that's kind of, they put that in there and that started becoming the basic targeted frequency. And so now everybody was tuning to it. And it's a frequency that I like to think of as like if you're stuck on a roundabout, meaning that the harmonic value of it is that if you start with an A and you kind of go all the way around to the rest of the A's, you still kind of end up back in the circle of it. And so it keeps you in a circle, and I don't see how you really expand. And that's just kind of my analogy of it. Where if you look at some of these other frequencies that Pythagoras, I'll tell you about the Pythagoras when he's walking along Mesopotamia, Assyria, Babylon back in his day, master mathematician, and he hears a blacksmith hammering on an anvil, and he hears these pitches in his ears, and he goes back and he builds a monochord, and he figures out where all the frequencies are on it. And now you can start out with like 44 to 88 that's going, and it goes on up. So now it has an exponential, a boundless frequency range, so to speak, that's tapping into the universe. Well, Now that brings up another interesting aspect, because if you think of our universe, we only see 4.5% of it. I played football and coached football. That's like standing on the 5-yard line, realizing you got 95 more yards, and we're not even sure if we're correct with that. I like the boundless, limitless energy that's of it. I know that our ears can only hear 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz, but our body is going to be able to pick up on those vibrations and the resonance of those vibrations.
So what Ted was talking about is even scientific research and scientists admit that only about 4.5% of the known universe can be measured or quantified in any way. But there are these vibrations of the universe that we can use to our benefit for natural healing, which is what we talk about here at the Natural Healing Show. Now, what is HARP? HARP, not the instrument. Not the instrument, but HARP. What is HARP?
What is it, like the High Active Auroral Research Program? It was introduced by the military. They have installation up in Alaska. We're talking billions of dollars that they used for this, for shooting this frequency that is this. I apologize. The statistics of how high that frequency is escaping my mind right now. But basically, it's kind of being shown that in some aspects, it can heat up the universe. It can. There was the earthquake I believe over Haiti, and they were measuring it and saw that the Earth's atmosphere was heating up at the time that started to, that earthquake had happened. So some people are speculating that was a part of using HARP waves that was on that. So it's a government research program. They put, I think there's 8-9 active installations. One of them is in Oslo, Norway. I think there's 2 in Alaska. So and then you've got the counterpoint that's to that, which is ELF, which is the low frequencies. And they were using those, which are like below 1 hertz. They're extremely low frequencies. And they were using that to tap down into the Earth's crust. They were using it for oil exploration. So that, and it started off of Oregon, I want to say it was, and they started noticing a series of earthquakes that started happening out there. So the point is, again, our bodies are being affected by these frequencies. You can think of smart meters. There's another one not many people think of. And the other stuff, to our computer systems, if you've got a cell phone, you're getting Wi-Fi signals and you got a Bluetooth connected to it. Where is all of that going? And how do you try to entrain yourself away from that as well? So take a dose of the frequencies, of my frequencies, and it's going to be able to eradicate the negative energies.
Yeah, and I think you're bringing up a really important point for those in our audience who are highly sensitive people. And I know for myself, I visited Scotland in 2009, and the host understood who I am. I'm a medical intuitive healer. I'm by definition a highly sensitive person, and he put me in a room to shield me from the cell phone tower radiation. And it made a huge difference. So there are some people who are highly sensitive who are being affected by these negative frequencies, whether you're conscious of it or not. But you can bring yourself back into alignment and back into vibrational wellness by listening to sound healing. And, I know when I was there in Scotland, I also wore a Claris device, which helps you protect your energy from cell phone radiation. So you can wear devices that protect your energy from these harmful frequencies, and you can listen to sound healing music that brings you back literally into harmony. So Ted Winslow, you've been very generous to offer our audience a free download of Angelic Sound Healing. So you're going to go to tedwinslow.com. You're going to go to the store. You're going to put in the coupon code radio. And when it zeroes out, you're going to use this wonderful music for your own benefit. So Ted Winslow, any final thoughts for our audience?
Oh, main thing is that we can all be the change. As soon as we change our vibration, we can change the world. Nikolai Tesla best put it: if you want to think of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Another great man of his time, Einstein, in 1905, as the law of vibration says that everything in nature vibrates. So if something happens in our universe, it's going to vibrate right through and it's going to affect us. We can be the change. Let's eradicate the negative energies and just get onto a more healthy, happy, fun living lifestyle. I'm blessed to be doing this. And the reason why I'm fortunate to be able to do this is because I'm able to share it with people who thank you for all the support and everything. And Catherine, I want to say thank you so much for creating an environment on your natural healing show so that we can get together and we can talk about these great things that and be able to share all these wonderful bouts of knowledge and ideas that we have.
So for our audience, please visit tedwinslow.com. Take advantage of this wonderful free CD and understand that you're going to be able to get out of pain. You're going to bring yourself into vibrational alignment and open yourself up to the miracles of sound healing. You've been listening to the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan. Find out more about me and my work as a medical intuitive healer at catherinecarrigan.com. While you're there, sign up for my newsletter and get more information about natural healing. And remember, when you use sound healing, you are healing yourself naturally. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.